Hello and welcome to the Sol y Luna report for this week. It's going to be on the Aries New Moon, which is happening the day after the Spring Equinox on March 21st, 2023. It's also the beginning of the Astrological New Year. Hello.
Hey, you guys, MC Starman, Martin Comtois with Dayana Robinson. I wanted to say something, big about the channel.
Ooh.
We hit over 500 subscribers. We actually skyrocketed to 522 in just a short time. We got 77 new subscribers in the last 3 months, which is huge. So that's really big. And I want to acknowledge also that we have about a group of about 60, 70, maybe up to 100 that are really loyal and that see these videos all the time, and they're following us, and we can see that you're tuning in. So any little shout out that you can give us, a little comment or something, just to show you're there. It's really cool to feel supported and to develop to having a feeling like we having a growing community. It's really cool. You say that people come up to you at the store all the time.
Yeah, more and more of you guys are saying hi, so that's nice. Makes me shy, but it's also another layer of getting over that.
Well, this last video we did on the Pluto ingress into Aquarius, we got over 500 views already and 12 new subscribers during that video alone. So that's really exciting. So thank you for supporting. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for commenting and asking questions. It inspires us greatly. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Okay, so well, let's flesh this out here. How are you doing with this? How was that Virgo full moon for you?
Right, the Virgo full moon, that was just last week. It's been a marathon since then. The Virgo full moon was good. I really love Moon in Virgo, and I think I said that in the last video, and I found it really productive. I was using it towards studying and getting ready for presentations here and also at my job, and yeah, I felt like I kind of got on top of things, but it was demanding too.
Did you feel that Saturn and Pisces thing?
Yes.
And then the Jupiter Chiron, so we had that full moon, and then Jupiter Chiron and Saturn coming into Pisces. That kind of, to me, it's like really shifted a lot of the energies. So wondering, so personally, well, Saturn and Pisces, I got 3 planets in Pisces, and I during Pisces season, I'm always like, oh, and so Saturn and Pisces, I really felt that. Not only that, but it's right on my sun right now. So like, wow, so I'm not really impartial on that, but it's also starting to move really close to your Saturn. So how's that feeling for you?
I had a lot of like old realizations and dreams come back up from probably about 14 years ago, and I was putting it together the other day thinking that
when Saturn was in opposition to Saturn.
Exactly,
interesting.
Yeah, a lot of these things, and it was a big part of my, probably like the big I don't know how to say this, ignition to a spiritual, I don't know what we call now a spiritual awakening, but just self-realization. A lot of work that was happening back then, a lot of it's been coming up the last week in good ways, which I'm grateful for. And so just taking more time and realizing I need to take more time for that kind of work in my life.
Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. And then that Jupiter Chiron conjunction, we had we put out a beautiful video on those 2 things. Saturn ingress into Pisces. Go check that one out. And if you haven't already, and also the Jupiter Chiron conjunction, we're going to still talk about that a lot. But here we are. So Aries, the sun ingress into Aries, the Aries ingress, the Spring Equinox, and the Astrological New Year. So to me, that's really the beginning of the year for me. You know, it's like the end, like January, February, and March. It's like getting over what 2022 was, and now like we're really kicking in. The sun's coming into Aries. We're coming into the half of the year where the sun will be higher now, and it will be, the days will be longer, the sun is dominating, and we're done with the dark season. Wow, that was an intense winter, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Big growing, big growing. And so we're coming into the Aries season. So let's see what that looks like in chart wise. We did two charts for you. We did the new moon and also the spring equinox. So let's break down, and they're very similar because the spring equinox falls on the 20th. At what time?
If this chart's correct, it's 2:24 p.m.
2:24 p.m. And then the next full, then the new moon comes exactly a day after at 10:23 a.m. So, you know, so then we have a new moon and a full moon back to back. And so we did both charts and they resemble each other quite a bit.
But they're also kind of different. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of a feeling shift in the air and in ourself throughout these 2 days, because there is quite a big shift in what aligns too.
Well, definitely sun coming into Aries, you know, yeah. and then right before we have Mercury coming to Aries, and then the moon joins into Aries. So we'll have 5 planets into Aries as soon as the new moon comes. But on the equinox, it's mostly, you know, well, it's that Moon Neptune conjunction, and then we have that Jupiter Chiron. And what's
the north or the midheaven here?
The midheaven. We have that Venus Uranus that's coming into conjunction, and Venus is exalted in Taurus, and Venus is climbing higher and higher in the sky now. We're seeing it in her bright feature now every day. She's the dominant star. We're seeing her every night, real super bright.
I don't know if you follow North Node astrology, guys, either, but it's going to be right conjunct on the equinox and this new moon. So that's a powerful feeling too.
And the nodal axis is about to go into Aries. We should talk about that. But then what's interesting about this chart is the Mercury-Mars mutual reception. So we're going to look at the dates, but for about 10 days there, from the time Mercury comes into Aries and then Mars leaves Gemini, they're in mutual reception. And they rule the chart. Mutual reception means they support each other and they empower each other because they're in each other's home. Aries is the home of Mars, and Mercury is the home of Gemini. So they're in each other's domiciles, in each other's home. And so, and in square 90-degree angle to each other, and they're going to be in square like that for that whole period of time. And to me, that's like, okay, let's go. It's like fast. You wrote, using our gathered information wisely. Well, that would be really smart. But with the Mercury-Mars mutual reception, it seems like you would do before you think, or the tendency would be there, but those two planets are an angle to Pluto. And so, you know, the quincunx Pluto-Mars and the Mercury-Pluto and the Sun, you know, in all that information, there's a lot of transformation being needed. So yes, using that information wisely, and that, you know, fools rush in where, where angels fear to thread, just be careful and think before you act. Although the tendency with Mercury, Mars in such a strong alignment would be to just go, 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 go. And so that will be interesting. And then we'll point out the dates for you in that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, next week is going to be a big amount of change. I think that this being on the Monday is going to kickstart us off into a really strong new energy. It'll be interesting to see how it lives out in you guys, in myself and in you guys and all of us, because this mutual reception, even though it is feisty with the Aries and then Gemini being all over the place too sometimes, I think that with Mars being in Gemini since August of last year, which is a very long time to have Mars in one sign, usually it's about 2 months. I think that there's been a lot of
Not
work
even,
done
it's usually
here.
about a month, but
Uh-huh.
but it's been 7 months because of the
Yeah,
retrogression.
exactly.
So that's been, and I think that that's been responsible for that kind of go, go, go stuff that's been going on, the pace of life. My feeling is that when Mars comes into Cancer, it's going to become much more nurturing kind of energy. I think that we're going to have no choice because we've been going so hard for so long.
My intuition is that this is gonna start something new, and then those Mars goes into Cancer, it's gonna be about nurturing whatever that newness is in your life.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, Mars will be ruling, so we'll have, as soon as the new moon comes in, we'll have 5 planets in Aries, all ruled by Mars. And then Mars comes into Cancer, so then all of that energy will shift to a Cancer, and the Cancer is ruled by the moon. So wherever the moon is, then that'll be very important. So, but yes, the tendency will be that it'll be much more nurturing because of that moon, right?
looking forward to that. So shall we continue or shall we
Yeah,
back up
let's keep going. There's a lot of information there and we kind of got lost in it. So
this is the
then
next day.
then that's the next day, not even 24 hours. We have Sun, Moon, Mercury conjunction in square to Mars, the mutual reception. Then we have that Pluto, the Lord of Hell, who's just about to enter tomorrow into Aries, the day after on the 23rd. Well, 2 days after, on the 23rd, Pluto enters. Oh, you shifted charts again.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Boom. Okay, so then Pluto ingress into Aquarius. We just did a beautiful video on that. So that's really also, and then Mars is getting ready to shift into Cancer too. So wow, that's big shifts. And then that Jupiter Chiron, and then that Mars into Pisces. So we looked at well, we looked at this prior, we were talking about the month of March and how significant it was going to be with all of these alignments. So it's interesting to witness, because you look at it from, before, and then now we're in it, and then we'll be looking at it after, as spring moves along. Even though it's kind of hard to tell because we're into it, it seems to me that some powerful changes is brewing in our own personal lives, but also in the collective. And is it too soon to see those differences? And I'd be curious to hear what you say about that. What you have to say about that. How do you feel these energies have affected you? And what do you feel is coming out of it? What do you feel?
What do I feel is coming out of this? I think we're preparing to be living in a whole new world, and I think we all don't really know what that is, but it's the beginning of, I don't know, lack of a better word, the post-pandemic reality. What happens when the whole world gets affected by a narrative, and then how do we move forward from that, and what is the unveiling of the narrative, and then also realizing that regardless of the pandemic aspect of the narrative, the world is in a crisis, and now that a lot of it's been brought up, it's how are we going to move forward? And I think that Pluto into Aquarius is going to be a big teller, and it's only for the next 3 months, 23rd until June, and then it's going to go back into Capricorn. So I think these next 3 months is going to be a big sign about what kind of world we're working to create, and then maybe going back to Capricorn to say, oh, what does work? What structures do we need to carry forward, or do we need to still get rid of?
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. So, I mean, and so that's that Aries energy, huh? Jupiter, Chiron, Mercury, Sun, and Moon, all in Aries. And this Aries month, we're going to have 2 Aries new moon. And so that also is going to be like, we're coming into a new era. The name of our video for Pluto was the beginning of a new era. And I think a lot of people are concerned, what's coming up for a lot of people is financial economic concerns, right? What the hell is going to happen? And it's interesting, when Pluto came into Capricorn, we had a financial crisis. Now Pluto's about to come into Aquarius. There was another financial crisis that's emerging. So we fleshed that out quite a bit in our last video. It's going to be very fascinating to see. But so that's that. And then the only other thing that we haven't talked about is that Venus-Uranus conjunction, and Venus coming into Taurus, and Venus in conjunction with the North Node. So what is that going to add to the picture?
Well, Venus comes into Taurus in just a few days from now. I think it's on Friday, the 17th.
Well, we'll look at the dates next.
Yeah, and then it's going to be passing Uranus, though, before the next full moon. So it's going to go through Taurus pretty quick. I think it might bring a lot of revelation and new understanding to our values. Venus being values, and Uranus being higher mind thinking, and also sudden changes in values, potentially. Also maybe sudden ideas on how to take care of ourselves, given the instability of our world right now.
Yeah, well, the need to really honor the Venusian in Taurus, just owning up to that, really super important, for sure, for sure. Let's look at those dates again, so that
sure. Before we
go
do
ahead.
that, I was thinking, because this is the beginning of Aries season, and some of us, I mean, I know there's a variety of people who tune in, but do we want to flesh out Aries a little?
Sure.
Aries, as Martin mentioned, is ruled by Mars, so it's about drive and go. It's a cardinal sign, so it begins new energy, and it's represented by the ram, which is, or the ram and the lamb is always how I've witnessed it. So it's either ramming up ahead, but it's also the vulnerability of a lamb, because it's the first sign, it's the beginning.
Well, it's associated with the golden fleece, and the early depiction of God as a ram. And so that was important, really, to the early people, well, during the age of Aries, which was before the age of Pisces, right? So then in Pisces, Jesus was known as the fisher of souls, right? He was a Pisces. And then Aries is it's that ram, and the quest for the golden fleece, and all the ram deities that were there in antiquity. But in terms of our age right now, Pisces is followed by Aries. We go from the end of the zodiac to the beginning. And our system, the system that we follow is geocentric, meaning that we looked at it in terms of the equinoxes and the solstices, so that the signs are arranged according to that. So then the sun coming into Aries is the rebirth of the sun. So it's a rebirth of the cycle of life that's being renewed ever since the winter solstice through the last quadrant of the zodiac, the sun prepares itself for this rebirth that occurs when it comes into Aries. And so then with all of these planets, with Mercury there and with that Jupiter Chiron conjunction, we have all of this energy towards, like you were saying, you know, it's a new beginning. Let's do this. The year's starting to really get traction now. And then with that mutual reception of Mars and Mercury, it's like, boom, you know, so I would imagine that we're going to get quite a kick of energy.
I think also like the moon being our feminine and the Mars being our masculine. I find it neat that they're coming into conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries to start the new year with Mercury, which is like, isn't it the communicator between both the masculine and the feminine?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like maybe a whole new level of, how do I say this? A whole new level of our, lack of a better word, like inner economy, or like our inner divine marriage within ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Beginning a whole new cycle.
Absolutely, absolutely, with the new moon there. And again, we're going to have 2 new moons in Aries, so that we'll talk about that much more. But Dayana picked the 3 of Swords as the card for this reading. And so the 3 of Swords is a stormy weather with 3 swords poking through a heart. So it's a broken heart that's got a lot. And I think we have a lot on our hearts right now, and that Jupiter Chiron about healing or wounding, and all the planets in Pisces, you know, so it's been really grieving, a lot of sadness with Saturn coming into Pisces too. And so this, you know, this equinox and this new moon should present a change of energy from that for sure. Let's look at the dates. So this is kind of the breakdown. Today we're on the 13th, Monday the 13th. So the 16th. So that's what the 16th. Thursday, we have a Sun, Mercury, Neptune conjunction at 25 degrees Pisces. I'm going to feel that one. I have a Venus at 26 degrees Pisces.
Oh, wow.
So Sun, Mercury, Neptune. How do you flesh that one out?
For your chart or for in general?
For you, yeah, for in general.
I mean, I question if you're gonna get a beautiful gesture on that day. I hope you do. Given the alignment, but I think for all of us, it might be a bit of like a. Well, let's see, Sun, Mercury, and Neptune.
Mm-hmm.
So the communication of.
So let's put that together here. It'll be at 25 degrees.
Cosmos.
Like this.
I think the moon will.
And then not far from
that. Be there yet.
Oh, right, right, like that.
Yeah. Communicating the divine love to our masculine.
Well, Mercury, you know, Mercury gives a voice, you know, tries to give a voice. You know, he's the communicator god. You know, he's got wings on his feet, wings on his head, and a golden wand. And he prepares, you know, he gives advice, he helps people. He's a very helpful, although he's a bit of a trickster. And then Neptune, you know, the god of the depth. And then the Sun, you know, Sun Mercury conjunction is an important part of the cycle of Mercury. This is when Mercury is so we have the Earth and the Sun, and Mercury's in the back of the Sun, and so it's visiting, and you know, so then it's very I think in a sense it would be very mystical. It would be an opportunity to really download some deep Neptunian stuff, you know, really be poetic and be very mystical. Good time for writing, good time for meditation. Could be a little depressive, you know, with Saturn, and also the moon's traveling through Pisces.
Not yet. Will be there yet, because today.
No, it'll come, but it'll come.
Moon's in Sag, I think now, so it's going to be in Capricorn, I think, by Thursday. Maybe Sag. I mean, maybe Aquarius.
But shortly thereafter, before so in that, so anyway, that's all really
Mhm.
Pisces energy, but then preparing to that big shift in Aries. So let's look at
I
what
look
else.
at
Go ahead.
Mercury as communication, but it's like I've learned to adapt my idea of Mercury as not just giving information, but it's the giving and receiving. And with it on the backside and close to Neptune, well, not close, but also connecting with Neptune, I see it as receiving more information than necessarily giving, like you said.
But gathering information, communication, gathering and communicating, if we look at Mercury as the guide, the word that's used is psychopomp, the guide of the soul. Mercury is the one who takes you across the river of Styx. He's the boatman. He goes to hell, he goes wherever, to guide you through your process. I'm reading the Odyssey right now. Go ahead, shift. But I'm reading the Odyssey right now, and Mercury appears to Odysseus to help him out, to get out of the pangs of being with. I was thinking about that. That's a really good myth to understand. The role of Mercury is that Mercury comes in to help Odysseus. They're visiting the island of Circe, and Circe has just changed his men into pigs by giving them a potion. And so all of his men are changing to pigs, and he wants to go and rescue them. And Mercury stops him and he says, dude, you don't know what you're getting into here, man.
Like a god wants to go and get into humans' activity.
Well, Odysseus wants to challenge Circe to free his men.
Okay.
But Mercury approaches him and he says, you have no idea what you're getting into. Here, take this herb. It will protect you against her magic formula. And he instructs him what to do. Once she sees that you're not victim to her herb potions, so that's one role of Mercury. He's the medicine man, right? So he gives him a potion to protect him, and then he tells him, this is what you do, and this is what you do, and this is what you do.
Prescription.
And so he's the guide. So then he's able to navigate that situation. So then that's the role of Mercury. That was a fun. It's really important, if you're studying astrology, to study mythology, because you start understanding these characters much better.
I like it. We should flesh that out as a separate video, I think.
Next time Mercury's retrograde, we'll talk about Odysseus and the Odyssey. Okay, so we made it to one date. Then on March,
Thursday.
So this is going to be a busy week, huh?
Yeah.
16 Sun, Mercury, Neptune. 17 Venus ingresses into Taurus. That should be quite sweet and nice, huh?
Nice weekend energy.
Then the 18, Mars clears its shadow. So Mars went all the way to the 25th degrees and then turned retrograde. So now it's passing that degree on the 18th. So now finally we're ready to move ahead after being back and forth 3 times. We went all the way to the end of Gemini, we came all the way back to the beginning of Gemini, then we worked our way through, and now finally it's time to uncover new territory in our Mars archetype. So I think now we're ready to move forward. And the day right after that, Mercury ingresses into Aries. So now we have Mars, Mercury, mutual reception starting on the 19th to the 25th.
It's going to be go.
So that's going to be a go week for sure. So yeah, check in with Mercury and your guide and all that. Then the day right after that is the Spring Equinox. Boom, the sun comes into Aries. And then the day after that, the sun and the moon comes into Aries.
Monday, Tuesday, if it helps.
And then the 23rd, Pluto ingresses into Aquarius.
Big week next week.
And then March 25th, Mars enters into Cancer. And then the 31st, Venus conjuncts Uranus.
Venus conjunct Uranus.
So that's, we're looking at 15 days, 14 days, 2 weeks, a fortnight of action. So month of March is not quite done. And so, yeah, we tried to really prepare you guys for this with giving you all kinds of information. So we did a Jupiter Chiron video, we did a Saturn ingress into Pisces, and we just did a Pluto ingress into Aquarius. This is our Equinox and New Moon video. We got more coming, but Dayana's got some medicines for us.
We've got a lot going on in Aries coming up here. And one of the things, well, as you mentioned, Aries, or rather Mercury, can be associated with medicines to help communicate what needs to be communicated. But then there's also the aspect of a lot happening in the head with Aries. So Aries rules in the body, the head and the face. And sometimes some people, and what I've noticed in working in the alternative health industry, is seeing that things do get pretty heady. We think about what new things you have to do, all the garden, what has to go in the garden, what do I want to do this year? How did I follow through with my New Year's resolutions? Where am I at with that? What did I want to study? Do I have exams next month, depending on what you're up to in life? And it can get really heady, and that can be helpful, but it can also be draining, and it can be really hard on our nervous system. So in the tissue salts, the cell salt number 6 is caliphos, or potassium phosphate, and it's called the nerve nutrient. All the phosphates are really good for your nervous system, but potassium phosphate especially, because it has the connection between your nervous system and the muscle release. And so if your muscles are not relaxing or releasing, then you can see a deficiency in this, and the Aries energy of having an idea or in instigation of thought or process or even just action without thought can then need to have a release of the relaxation of that muscle, the counter opposite. And so we can use up a lot of our potassium phosphate in this time, or if you're in that kind of state. So it can be really helpful and supportive if you're finding that you're going a mile a minute and it's wearing on your body. And things that can show depletions of this really essential nutrient is symptoms like having headaches or neurologic pain and sciatica, as well as being just fatigued, stressed, and overdone, is another example of being kind of low in this essential phosphate. Some herbs that really help to cool the body and settle that excess energy of Aries is hops, garlic, nettle, blessed thistle, and cayenne.
So towards the end of the month of Aries, their nettle is going to start happening on the island, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So
it's a
we're
good
going to be going to pick some nettles and making some nettle tea.
I think garlic scapes might be starting around then too. So
garlic scape?
Scape, you think?
No,
Not yet,
no,
May?
no, that's summer.
Summer.
Scape.
Oh,
Well, no, the garlic's just popping out.
right.
Yeah,
Takes
we got a while to go.
Use the bulbs then. And yeah, just as a little action invitation, because Aries typically likes to keep active, is things to help move that energy might be things like getting a new haircut or giving yourself a good scalp treatment, or starting a new creative project with all that new instigative energy.
Beautiful, yeah. Beautiful. Thank you, Dayana, for that. So I think that we talked about a lot of information there, and I think it was pretty clear. What's your feeling on this coming couple of weeks there?
I think there's it's just keeping with the flow of the month with March this year. There's just a lot of change and a lot of endings and a lot of beginnings. And I have a lot of hope and faith in this new moon, in it really helping to instigate a new version of us that helps heal ourselves.
I have my ascendant in Aries, and so I always find that Aries month is like, after all the gestation of Pisces and all my planets in Pisces and my birthday and all of the Pisces stuff, I usually like have a boost of energy in Aries, and so I'm looking forward to that. But being careful and being mindful of our broken hearts, you know, and that Jupiter Chiron Aries energy there that we're really been called to being more active in our healing process. And then, you know, this shift of era, Pluto coming into Aquarius. And then that Venus, Uranus, that's going to be interesting, huh?
Yeah, it's like, I think this week could be a lot more feeling centered and a lot more unraveling. And then next week, as the more we do that this week, it could allow for a lot more new beginnings from a different place next week.
We tried to flesh it out for you as best as we could. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for supporting the channel. Keep subscribing, keep sharing, and keep taking good care of yourself. It's always an honor to be of service. Oh yeah, let's do the last slide. That's the Healer and the Dreamer astrology. The Healer and the Dreamer weaves an insightful tapestry using astrology, alchemy, dream work, and the analytical psychology of Carl Gustav Jung to bring clarity to the path of self-realization in our modern time. I'm Martin Comtois. Spirit of the Times 108@gmail.com is how you connect with me. And we got Day by Day Healing, Dayana Robinson. And here's her email address, daybydayhealing@gmail.com. Reach out when you want. Would be beautiful to be in service to you. Thank you, Dayana, for being such a gracious co-host.
Thank you, Martin, for sharing your wonderful knowledge and medicine.
And you kind of balance me out really well. So I'm grateful. Over and out.
All the love to you each in your process.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.